I wanted to come on here again and talk a little bit more about my journey thus far through my experience with understanding my autism diagnosis, and just kind of talk about how it's going and the things that I'm learning. I'm stacking wood again because I feel like it's like part of my routine now in my my life, but preparing for the winter. But also, I really don't mind the wood stacking. I do really like repetitive tasks and organizing things, and this is like a nice visual, physical kind of thing that I can do. It actually really does calm me. So that's one thing I guess I learned. I think my whole life, I feel like I've had a lot of sensitivities to my environment, and that would include people in my environment, and there's like a lot of false information about autistic people, and that they are have a lack of empathy, which is like really not true. There's like just different kinds of empathy, but one is like cognitive empathy, that's like understanding somebody's like when they tell you something, that like understanding it and putting yourself in their shoes. And there's like forgetting the name, but it's like feeling empathy of like feeling somebody else's feelings in the moment. And I have the feeling somebody else's feelings in the moment, and like experiencing that, and way more than I have like development in the cognitive empathy. And so for me, like if somebody's obviously upset, I know that they're upset, and I can kind of like feel that. I feel that within my body, the upsetness of somebody when I'm like, if they're angry or if they're or really sad or something. I know that, and I want to fix that or help them. But if somebody's like telling me a story about something they went through, I'm not going to necessarily know what their feelings are about that. Sometimes I can figure it out, like really delayed. Like it might be like the next day or like days later that I'm like, oh, I wonder if they were feeling sad about, you know, that they lost a job or something like that. I can maybe assume, okay, they're probably sad, but I don't know exactly what sad feels like to somebody if I'm not like seeing it right away. So that's something that I've learned. And what experiencing somebody else's feelings or experiencing sensory things differently, like people's emotions or whatever, it does make me feel like I'm always like buoyed or like jostled by people's moods. So like I think people might term that like hyper empathy, or like I don't know, in spiritual circles, they call that an empath, which I don't um, believe that that's a true thing. I just think our brains are just wired to pick up things like that. And sometimes it's because, like, in our childhood, we had reasons to pay attention to all those things. But I think there are some people's brains that just are sensitive, like hypersensitive to picking up those things. And I am one of those people. And so consequently, I feel like going back to the repetitive stuff, it, some reason, kind of helps that feeling of like internally being like affected by other people. So yeah, if I have a structure, if I have a routine, or if I have repetitive stuff, it's like the inside stuff. I don't know what you would call it. It feels a little bit like anxiety, but it's not. Like, I'm not worried about anything in particular. It's like my body nervous system is like not regulated. But if I do the repetitive stuff, like, it calms that down, and it like makes it easier for me to do daily stuff. So I think that's one thing that I've learned. I do need to really have structure and routine and have things that are just like consistent that I do over and over again. I think one of the criteria for autism is like repetitive behaviors, which some people use like stims for, which I do, and other things like are routine tasks and stuff. And I think sometimes when we look at like the autism criteria, when assessors are looking at the autism criteria, they're looking at, like, when they say repetitive behaviors, they're looking at like micro behaviors, like rubbing your arms or rocking, or these like stereotypical things, which I do a lot of those. But I don't think that people are really kind of taking into account like other repetitive things. Like, my grandfather was really autistic. Like if you had a poster child of male autism, my grandfather was like autistic. He was like not very verbal. He could speak, but he had a lot of difficulty communicating. So he didn't speak. He was really rarely did he speak. And he had a lot of trouble communicating emotions in a way that was like a language, like a human language. He did communicate emotions, but it was a lot of like streams of noise. And I don't know how I guess, no, he wasn't diagnosed. He also was obsessed with radios and like taking them apart and building them, putting them back together. And yeah, anyways, he had a lot of very stereotypical autistic behaviors. But one of the biggest things that he did, like, you could say that my grandfather didn't really have any repetitive behaviors. He didn't rock. He didn't like obviously stim that. I mean, maybe if I go back to my memory and that I could find some. But what he did do was repetitive dishwashing. That it wasn't like obsessive compulsive stuff or anything like that. He washed the dishes when it was time to wash the dishes, and he always picked a specific time to wash the dishes after people were done eating. And he really liked doing the dishes because it was like a socially acceptable repetitive behavior. And he washed the dishes the same way every time. And he did not want people to help him wash the dishes because that would interrupt his repetitive behaviors. He was such a kind and gentle and quiet person, but he did make it clear that like he was going to do the dishes. And he would do it at his house, but he would also do it if he was invited to dinner at your house. And even like any dinner he was invited to, he wasn't a really social person in general. He needed a lot of alone time, and he would often retreat, like if he was at a gathering. But the one thing he liked to retreat to was the kitchen. because he could get the warm water going, and something about the warm water was really soothing to him, and he would do the dishes the same way over again, like until everything was done and clean and put away. And he had a sequence for the cups, he had a sequence for the plates, he had a sequence for the silverware. Everything was done exactly the same every single time. And I can tell you, I do this. Not like I don't go over other people's houses and wash dishes, but I do this myself. And it's not like I have a choice, honestly. And I think this is true about repetitive behaviors. It's like it has to be done that way. And I have been washing the dishes at my partner's house, and like he'll go to put like something that he just used in, and I'll grab it and be like, nope, it doesn't go there. It's like not in that. That's not where in the process of where that goes. You can't just kind of put it right in there. And he now knows like not to do that. I don't like get mad or anything. I just go, oh, and I just kind of move it. And so yeah, this is something that I'm learning that is kind of part of my behavior. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is like meltdowns. And I think I'm going to make a separate video for that because it should be its own topic.